Hey, what's up? I'm Adam if you're new, and if you're returning, then you know what's good. Today, I want to talk about what you can do when you start to see yourself plateau in your fitness journey, or to be honest, you're just kind of getting bored and you need a way to switch it up, inject some life or some change into your routine. And this is especially true when you've been working out for quite a while. Like I've been in the gym for a good few years now. Every so often you feel like I need to do something else. I need to throw something new in here, or I'm starting to see myself level off. I'm not building enough muscle. I'm not losing the fat I want to. And so I thought I'd share some tips here about what I've learned throughout my fitness journey and ways that you can switch things up to see the results you want to. So I hope you enjoy the video and let's get into it. I am actually going to split this video up into 3 sections. So the first is going to be about exercises and themselves and the routine. The second one will be kind of about nutrition and stuff like that. And the last bit's kind of going to be on rest. So my first tip, and perhaps the one you're going to hear the most frequently in the fitness world, is progressive loading, right? Or progressive overload. This is the idea that you should be working out harder each session, right? So this quad day, I should be pushing harder than my last quad day, whether that means, and in this sense, I'm specifically talking about increasing weights. Now, there are other ways where you can increase the amount of resistance, but for now, we'll focus on increasing weights. And that may mean that you're doing a deadlift, right? And you've added a few more kilos than the last session. Maybe you've added 1.25, maybe you've added 2.5, whatever it is. But you should really be increasing the amount of stress that your body is under. And I've spoken about it in other videos before, but that's really because your body won't build muscle if it doesn't need to. It's really as simple as that. Muscle is really demanding. And so you need to keep giving your body a reason to make more, or at least maintain what it's got, right? So that is one way. And like I said, it could be your squat. It could be more isolated movements. It could be maybe something like a bicep curl, tricep push downs, whatever it is. You should be seeing yourself getting objectively stronger effectively. My next tip is about isolating limbs. So this is where you may take something like a leg press or leg extension or something where typically you would use both of your limbs, so like both your arms at the same time or both your legs, and instead you just do it with one of those at a time. And now this can be useful for a number of reasons. The main reason people encourage this in a routine is because often you have one leg, one arm that will take more of the load. And over time, like on a day-to-day basis, you may not notice, but over time you can see a difference in the strength of that particular limb, right? And so that can cause certain problems. It may affect your ability to lift your compound lifts effectively, but also you just kind of want your body to be relatively balanced if possible, right? So that can be a great way to not only challenge yourself, because there's a lot more involved when you're using one limb at a time. Things like coordination, balance, would I say agility? Mainly balance, I think, and coordination. So that can help as well with the muscle mind connect. So there's a lot of reasons why incorporating like one leg or one arm versions of exercises can be useful. So my next tip is about rest time and playing with rest time. I know when I first started my fitness journey, I was spending too much time resting between sets. Like, sweetie, it's been 10 minutes. You need to do another set. So playing with rest time can be really useful, and the amount of rest you take between sets will vary depending on the type of training you're doing. So perhaps if you're doing strength training, something like 5 sets of squats, 5 reps, your rest time is going to be longer in between those sets because you've exerted more power. You're using different energy systems, and so the time taken to replenish is different. So that's something, but think about maybe shaving off a few seconds of your rest time. And if you're taking really big rests in between sets, maybe you take off 30 seconds. Maybe you see if a minute is long enough, right? And so play with it. See what happens. It can be an interesting way to really push yourself in a session. And you may see that your time shrinks, right? And instead of spending 2 hours in the gym, which is definitely possible, you may be only spending an hour and a half. My next tip is to change the tempo. There are many ways that you can change the tempo of an exercise. It could be incorporating something like a pause. So I've spoken about pause squats before and incorporating those into an exercise, into a routine. And effectively, that's just obviously when you hold in a position at a different point in the exercise. In this case, it's when you're at the bottom of the squat. But it could be something like, I'll take a bicep curl because it's what I can do like on the screen quite easy. Instead of doing your standard tempo of 1, 2, 1, 2, you may do something like 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that does is change the time under tension at different points of the exercise, which again can be a different way to challenge the body and challenge those muscle groups. Next is changing up reps and sets. Now, I've already alluded to the fact that when you're doing different types of training, i.e. strength versus hypertrophy and stuff like that, the number of sets and reps you do may be different. So consider playing it with you. Maybe you take yourself from doing 3 sets to 4 sets. Or maybe you're doing 5 sets now, but only 5 repetitions in it, like a 5x5. And again, this can be another way of pushing your body, or at least changing the way your body has to respond to the exercise, i.e. I'm doing less repetitions so I can now exert more power, or I'm doing more repetitions so my body's pushing for longer, right? If it's 12, right? So think about the ways that you can change up sets and rep in that sense. My next tip is supersets and trisets. So a superset is when you do an exercise back to back. So perhaps I've just done a squat, right? Like I've just done a standard barbell squat, and I may superset that with something like a lunge, or whatever your superset back to back is going to be. And the thing is with a superset is you don't take your rest until you finish both of those exercises. Yeah. And again, this is just another way to push the body, because before it can rest, it's got to perform another one. And there's different ways you can perform supersets, and that's really kind of a video in itself. And I can go through maybe some of my favorite supersets for different parts of the body. But supersets can be really useful and really great for pushing that body on, challenging yourself, especially if you're getting bored. Trisets, as the name may suggest, is that, but with 3 sets as opposed to 2 back to back. So you do 3 back to back. There are also different ones. I forget some of them, what they're called. Giant sets and things like that. But explore it. My next tip, and one that I think is really important, is adding challenges. And what I mean by this is, if there's something in the gym you've been looking at, but you just haven't really been trying because you're like, I'm not ready for that, or that looks a bit too difficult, make it your mission to be able to do that exercise. So for example, for me, it was pull-ups. I've been in the gym many years. For most of those years, I haven't been able to do a single pull-up, right? It's just pull up my body weight. And I found myself getting stronger as of late. And I thought, you know what, let me try it. And I did 1 pretty well. And then I did 2. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to set a goal to get myself to like 4 by the end of this week, or 5 by the end of this month. And just incorporating that, and then tailoring some of the exercises, thinking more, what's the word I'm looking for? Being more deliberate with certain exercise I was doing in certain parts of my routine was really helpful. So incorporate challenges in yourself. Maybe there's something in the gym that you've been looking at and you're like, that's a bit difficult. Sometimes it's things as like the monkey bars. Like I have monkey bars at my gym and I love doing the monkey bars. See what works for you and make it fun. Like the gym should be enjoyable. It's going to be hard, but you should, to an extent, look forward to the gym. And sometimes it's going to be quite a drag. But you know when you get to the gym and you finish the workout, I don't know if there's ever been a time when I've left gym and felt, I wish I just never went. And my final tip under the whole actual exercises themselves is regarding cardio. So if you are someone like me who's prone to putting on weight relatively quickly, or maybe you just want to shred some fat, think about ways that you can incorporate cardio into your routine in a way that suits you, that you enjoy. The thing with cardio is, if you don't like it and you don't enjoy it, or get some sort of positive kind of reward from the exercise beyond just the aesthetics, it can be really hard to maintain it. And there are so many different styles of cardio, actual machines that you can use, that you should be able to find something that works for you. So it may be that you go to a class, right? Like a HIIT class, or like a boxing class. Or it may be that you like sprinting, so you just do sprints, interval training on the treadmill. Or you like cycling, or you like doing kind of circuit style things, or you like dance. Find something that works for you and go with it and stick with it. But don't try to force yourself too much to do things that you don't like, because I find that when you don't enjoy your routine, like I said, it's really hard to stay on job. Okay, so that's enough of that bit. Let's move on to nutrition. Now, if you're doing everything that you're supposed to do in the gym, often the time you're not seeing the results you want, or why it's just not going in the direction you want it to, is because you're lacking somewhere in your nutrition. And it could be that you're not consuming enough calories, or you're consuming too many. I'll give you an example of where this was an issue for me. So a few years ago, I was training maybe 6 times a week. Like, I mean, I was going to boot camp classes. I was doing resistance training. I was doing pretty much everything. And I got really quite small at this time, but I wasn't building muscle, not in the way that I wanted to anyway. And it's just because I wasn't consuming enough food. Like I definitely wasn't starving myself at this point, but I was so active that in order to build muscle, I needed to be consuming a lot more calories than I was at that time. So think about it. Are you intaking enough for your expenditure? Which kind of leads me on to the next one. Where are your calories coming from? Are you consuming a diet high in sugar, or, high in certain carbohydrates, high in certain fats? Where's your nutrition coming from? It could be that you are seriously lacking in protein, right? You know that the building blocks of muscle, as well as other things, but it's protein. So consider where your food is coming from. And this is where tracking can become really, really helpful. I'm not a proponent of daily tracking for the most part. Most of my fitness journey and the goals I've achieved weren't from tracking every day with something like MyFitnessPal. But I will use MyFitnessPal and other sort of tracking devices when I, one, plateau, or two, have a very particular goal. So like I want to lose, when I was going to Santorini, I really wanted to shred a little bit more. Right, and so I started tracking because I needed to make sure that I was really staying within the limits of what I knew was the calories I needed to intake to see a decline in my body fat, basically. So do consider that. And again, these sorts of things are really helpful if you're starting your journey and you just need some kind of grounding, some foundation. You need to see where you are. Then they can be really useful. So, and my final thing, I guess, comes under overall nutrition is make sure you're staying hydrated, right? The process of building muscle, maintaining muscle is not an easy one for the body to do. And so you just want to create the best environment for that. I mean, hydration is good for so many other reasons that also come into fitness, but don't make it harder on your body than it needs to be effectively. So stay hydrated, drink your water, and eat your fruits. So the final bit of this is about rest. Now, rest is often a really underrated part of a routine or a fitness journey. But the thing is, if you're always pushing your body and never giving it the time and space it needs to recover, you probably won't see the results you want. And also you could end up just burning out really quickly because your body's just like, bruh, I can't do this. All right. And so there's several components to this. There's the rest you get at night, right? When your body's recovering and replenishing. And so you need to be sleeping enough, and you need to be deliberate and intentional with making sure that you're getting enough sleep, right? For different people can kind of exist on different amounts of sleep. For me, I think around 8 hours is good for me, 7 to 8. Anything less than that, and I start to really feel it, and I'm sore for longer and things like that. So really, really set out the time. Like, be deliberate. Like, I'm going to go to bed at this time if I need to wake up at that time, and see what that does for you. The next component is actually taking rest days. Now, working out 7 days a week may sound like a really great idea, and then you're like, probably not. Again, I've been there and I've done that, and I actually, during that period, caused myself an injury. I think I was just doing way too much, and like I said, not allowing my body that was the Jamaican in me, time to recover and stuff like that. So do take your rest days. Maybe you're starting off with 4 days a week training, so you give yourself 3 days to rest, and maybe you go up to 5. Some of the more advanced or long-term trainers may do 6 days a week. So think about the ways that you can incorporate rest into your routine. That's all I wanted to talk about today. A lot of this stuff has come from my guide I have out, my lifting guide for women. So check that out if you're interested in more and you want to see some routines that I've got in there, some more ideas about meals that you can eat and how you can organize that during the day and stuff like that. But yeah, hope this has been useful, and I will see you in the next video.